I want to see my clients win. That's really the goal, and I want to give them images that will help them win.
The insurance industry specifically is a place where if you're willing to put yourself out there, you will get opportunities.
LinkedIn is not a billboard for your business, it's a networking event.
Pictures evoke that level of curiosity that you're not going to get from a video image or a recording.
No matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing, find ways to tell stories because people resonate with stories.
I don't have a problem letting other people be in the spotlight. I don't have a problem letting other people win, and I don't even need to get any kind of recognition for that.
When people see themselves looking confident on the screen, it actually does something to their inner confidence.
I'm a big believer in automation and efficiency for work processes. I am not a big believer in automation and efficiency for building relationships. That is a slow and drawn out process. It needs to be intentional.
I've worked with companies really all over the US. I've had companies fly me to California, Denver, DC, Nashville, kind of coast to coast, really.
And a feather in your hat because you're telling other people's story, but you're also telling yours while you're telling theirs.
What, across that entire brand, what are the things that you're trying to communicate to your audience? What are the things that you want them to know about you and your brand? And then how do we create a headshot with a consistent brand message?
Doesn't matter what platform you're on in social. If you are consistent in your message, in your posting, your audience will always find you. In some way, shape, or form, they will always find you. Maybe not as fast as what you would like for them to find you, but they will always get there in the end. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. One of the ways you can do that as a producer is to project a positive image of yourself and your firm, and you can do that through an impactful headshot that grabs people's attention and draws them in, making them to want to know more. So we're going to talk to Daniel Wakefield, the owner, founder, whatever we want, chief headshot guy at Top Tier Headshots. And if you are in my circle, to say, then you probably have already heard of Daniel, because if you're in my circle, you're in Ciara Gravier's circle, and she has had some amazing headshots done over the course of this past year with Daniel. And it got my attention to the point that I thought, what would it look like if we were to bring Daniel down to Producers in Paradise in Key West this year, so that all of these people who say they love Ciara's headshots, they want to come to Florida and get them and everything else, can put their money where their mouth is. Because it's easy to make it as a comment on Facebook, but now you have the ability to make an appointment. But Daniel has been really kind and given us a great promotion. So if you are in Killing Commercial and planning on being in Key West, last year everybody got a little disgruntled because the Saints sold out so fast. I'm telling you, do not slow play registration, because there's a limited number of headshot opportunities, and we want you to get one if you want one. So Daniel's made himself available for that. That being said, welcome to Daniel Wakefield. What's up, man?
Thank you so much for having me, David.
Absolutely. My pleasure, man. So we were just doing what I normally do and shooting the breeze, and I probably should have hit record because we were talking about some cool stuff. But before we get into the meat of, what you do, why it's important, how it makes a difference, and talk, I'm sure we'll talk about personal brand, online brand, all of that. But give everybody a little bit about your background and kind of what led you to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I used to be a high school science teacher, so a little bit of a different career path there. Never really thought entrepreneurship was in the cards for me, but I started to enjoy photography. Kind of the bridge was I got into wildlife photography and was doing that just as a hobby, and really started to fall in love with photography itself as a creative medium, and started to think about, well, I wonder if I could do this as a career. And the only way I really knew that people were making good money as photographers was doing weddings, and I didn't want to be a wedding photographer, just not my thing. So I just kind of kept it on the back burner and would do the occasional like family portraits or high school seniors or something like that, just for mostly like for friends and family. Uh, but really at that time started to become just fascinated with genuine human expression and how to elicit it and how to capture it and really why it's so important and why people feel they feel something when they look at an image of themselves where they look genuine, they look happy, they
It
look
builds
like
self
themselves.
confidence, man.
Yeah, it's
It-
the self-confidence thing. It's the, when you put somebody in front of a camera and you tell them to smile, it tends to look fake unless you're
it's
one of these
forced.
people that can put it on, but that's not many of us from what I've seen. So it got me thinking along those lines, and then kind of the ultimate thing that really got me, I think, specifically thinking about it was taking pictures of my parents. My mom has a beautiful smile, but she cannot smile on command. I love you, mom, but you can't smile on command. And I would be like, Mom, that's not what you look like. I want you to smile. And it just got me thinking of creative ways of, well, how do I get her to give me this great, beautiful smile so that when we look back on these photos, it's like, yeah, that's her. That's who she is. You see her personality coming out. And then I got connected with this guy named Peter Hurley, who's in New York City, widely considered to be the best headshot photographer in the world. And I had the opportunity to join his headshot crew because I had begun thinking about headshots as a possible career. And it was such a perfect mesh of photography and this interest in genuine expression. Peter teaching this really elevated, very, I call it almost like a Forbes magazine-ish vibe to the lighting and everything, and then bringing this interest in genuine human expression and really learning how to coach that out of people. Because you really can't think of anything more awkward and unlike enforced than a headshot for most people. It's you literally stand there or sit there, somebody puts a bunch of bright lights in your face, the camera's right there, and they're like, okay, now smile. And it just feels like the most contrived thing in the world. But that's,
I have never been through anything like that except the for one time in my life. Even seeing your pictures and stuff like that, it wasn't nearly as rigorous. But when I was on the cover of Independent Agent magazine, I got the entire makeup treatment, lighting treatment, everything, and I'm like, this is not even like turn your head a little bit this way, no, a little bit more the other way. Like it's everything's like a micro move. It's like nothing's comfortable about that entire process, right? It's completely manufactured.
yeah. Yeah. So there there's a manufacturedness to it that almost can't be avoided. But
Yeah,
what
but
I've
what you
found
do to
is,
me, from my perspective, what you do, and I might have a little different perspective only because your stuff populates my feeds now on social. So I do follow the things that are going on. So the group photo shoot with the ladies that you've done, in the last couple of days, that to me looks like you just had a group of ladies that happened to be in front of the backdrop with the right lighting that you were able to get them naturally interacting, naturally happy, naturally smiling. I'm sure some of it required prompting, but it looked as natural as like I don't want to cheapen the quality of what you do, and I don't think that I am by saying this, but it kind of reminded me of like one of those Dove soap commercials or something where you have the group of ladies with the bright white, like it looked like it was just a group of ladies having fun and they happened to get captured in a commercial.
yeah.
And in your situation, it looked like, other than the fact, I shouldn't probably say this on the podcast. I should give her grief over it on text first. But I was going to tell Ciara she reminded me of the Hispanic Judge Judy because she was wearing a black dress with a white collar on it in
Oh
that picture.
man.
But it looked, I mean, I can't wait to see what those pictures actually turn out like because it looked like it you were going to get some really awesome facial expressions because it looked like organized chaos.
Yeah. So, and that's part of like what I'm trying to do with my business as well is to when clients have specific things that they're trying to build for their personal brands, that not only can I do this like really elevated headshot for them, but what else can we do on the branding photography side of things that will really take it to the next level? And so with this organization, the Daily Drip, they're doing this this program's the wrong word, but they're doing this event next year, and they need this promotional marketing assets for this event and the ladies that are involved in it. And so we had very specific things that we were trying to capture, but getting them to have fun was one of the ways that we were, getting these assets and getting these like just over the top genuine expressions and just very natural reactions to things with that great lighting as well in there. And I can't wait to share the finished results because I think it's going to break the internet, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be amazing, man. I really do. You could just you got the vibe, right? But I think part of it too, and a feather in your hat because you're telling other people's story, but you're also telling yours while you're telling theirs because you're getting cool shots like the one I saw on LinkedIn, which is obviously you capturing what you're doing to help them, but it's really a cool way to see behind the scenes of what you're doing too. I mean, there can't be a dull moment any day in the life of Daniel Wakefield.
It's I mean there are slower days and super crazy busy days, but I mean I think the lesson there is that no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing, find ways to tell stories because people resonate with stories. And so whether that's telling your clients success stories that they've had, whether it's sharing your own story and how far you've come and what you've learned along the way, or like, ways that, I try to combine both when I can. People resonate with that. They don't want to go on LinkedIn and just read sales pitches or read billboards. People are going to connect with other people. And this like kind of gets into a little bit of my mentality with LinkedIn is that LinkedIn is not a billboard for your business. It's a networking event. And that when you have that mindset shift of starting to look at, it's not just something I just go and post sales pitches. It's I'm going to go and connect with people. I'm going to start thought-provoking conversations. Ciara has been doing an amazing job of that since we've been connected over the past year. And it resonates with people. People want to follow people like that. And people want to work with people like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that when you start talking about what originated as social media marketing and is now transformed into whatever we call it today, digital marketing is probably the best thing. But there's a phrase that's used in those circles called, shouting your message. Essentially, you get on LinkedIn and you're pushing out everything you want everybody to hear, but it's probably the most selfish way you can go about doing it because you're controlling the narrative and it's you. It's all about what you want. Whereas if you go out and you spend, I tell people you should spend about 25% or less of your time actually posting and doing things to share. And I said, and when you do of that time, it shouldn't be necessarily self-promoting. It should be, sound bites leading back to a bigger educational piece or a blog post or an ebook or something like that, where people can actually learn something without having any strings attached, right? But when you go out there and it's constantly an advertisement for go to my website and or request your free quote here or what no, people aren't that's not what they're going there for, right? And that's where I think a lot of people get it wrong. And that's the first place I think they get it wrong. The place that I'm even more opinionated about LinkedIn specifically, because I don't feel like you see it on the other platforms, is all of the automation. Look, I'm a big believer in automation and efficiency for work processes. I am not a big believer in automation and efficiency for building relationships. That is a
Yeah.
slow and drawn out process. It needs to be intentional. And there is nothing worse. Well, there is something worse because it's starting to happen now. But the thing that used to really grate me is somebody wants to send a connection request, and I'm usually a pretty open connector. If it's something that's obviously going to immediately hammer me for, solicitation when I connect, I can pick up on it, so I'm not going to do it. But I can't stand the connection request and then boom, let me tell you what you're missing followers on your Instagram page. Am I though? Do you really have you asked any fact-finding questions to understand what my Instagram strategy is, what I use it for? Is it really something that's critical to my business? And so that's the first piece. So I figured out how to combat that by simply inserting my middle initial after my first name in the first name token on LinkedIn. So now anytime I get an email or an instant message that says, "Hey, David R," I know it's automated because they're pulling from the name field. I have another
Yep.
buddy who's not quite as kind as I am, who has a middle finger emoji after his, so that when they send it, they look at it and they're flicking themselves off. But the one that's really gotten me going now is the AI automated comments. People are actually automating their comments in these threads, and it's not good, man. You can tell
Nope.
that they've immediately gone and scraped that information from the description in somebody's profile or in the actual post, and then they insert it in the comments. So I'm a LinkedIn vigilante, man. If I see that, I call them out. Like if they do
Yeah.
that on my posts, I'm gonna say, "Come on, do better, man. This isn't how this works."
Yep. Yep. I mean, you just think about like, for your own posts, like, do you want your post filling up with AI generated comments, or do you want real conversations happening? And I think there's you know, not that you shouldn't want to grow your network and have more followers, but quality connections and conversations over just enormous quantity. Like what's the goal here? And if your goal is just to have like 20,000 followers and connections so that you can spam them all in the DMs, like what's your close rate on something like that?
Yeah.
It's going to be abysmal versus the long game of building quality, meaningful relationships and referral partners, strategic partners. That wins.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading, I don't even remember who posted it or what thread it was in, but I read a comment in a post about building your online presence and specifically LinkedIn, and a guy in the comment thread said people's perspective is wrong because they're focusing on followers when they should be focusing on profile views.
Mm,
And he said if you're doing it right, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to view your profile. Who is this guy? Who is this lady? Why, should I follow them? And then see how many followers convert from the profile views. Those are your people.
yeah.
You got everybody and their brother that's an outsourced, Instagram manager or, blog post writer or whatever else that you could quite frankly go to Upwork or Fiverr and hire. And they're going to connect and immediately give you all the reasons why you should hire them. But I thought that was a really interesting thing that I hadn't really thought of. But he's right, man. If you're doing it right and people are truly interested in what it is you have to say, they're going to click to go. For them to see more of what you put out, they have to go to your profile and look at your other posts or
Yep.
whatever else. And that that changed my thought process a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've never been concerned with how many followers I have. I think anytime you take somebody who is in a new business production type role and you put numbers in front of them, we live and die by numbers every day.
Yeah.
So obviously at some point you're going to look at it, but I can honestly say that over the course of like the last 2 or 3 years I quit looking at it. I don't really, it's irrelevant to me,
Mhm.
because if those followers don't translate into dollars somehow, it's nothing more than a bragging, something for me to brag about. And what am I really bragging about? It's winning a
Vanity
popularity
metrics.
contest online if it didn't turn it into money.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, um, I think that the headshot thing is interesting to me because, to your point, it was boring. I would argue that coming to Key West and doing headshots at Producers in Paradise might actually be closer to taking you back to your wild animal roots, but we'll see what that looks like once we actually get down there. No, no promises, all bets are off. But I think that it's something that is a big differentiator even on LinkedIn right now. And I'm going somewhere specific with this. One of the tricks, tactics, whatever, that you hear when you talk to people who are, LinkedIn trainers or profile optimizers or whatever else, isn't always that you should have a very impactful headshot that grabs people's attention. Quite the contrary. Most of the time, what I've heard, and I've been listened and followed to quite a few of these people, is you need to make your background bright yellow or another color so that it shows up in somebody's feed. And it's like, if you made your background black or white and your headshot was awesome, wouldn't that actually be more impactful and draw more people's attention? But I don't know if you've ever noticed or not, but if you scroll through LinkedIn long enough, you're going to see that there are people with like bright red, bright yellow
Yep.
backgrounds, and then you go look at the headshot and it's like, eh, you just highlighted a bad headshot.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. To me, it's an opportunity to say something about yourself from the first moment that somebody sees you. And and also to have, if you're building a brand, what across that entire brand, what are the things that you're trying to communicate to your audience? What are the things that you want them to know about you and your brand? And then how do we create a headshot where with a consistent brand message? So if you're trying to position yourself as a thought leader within your industry, and you're trying to project a confidence that also has approachability in it, and things similar to that, I can coach you into expressions that communicate that. So again, to your point, it's not just like a cheesy grin and bad lighting with bright yellow in the background
Right,
to make it
right.
pop out. It's like something that actually looks like, wow, this could be on the cover of Forbes. Or if I'm
Yeah,
sitting on
or
a
this
panel
person
discussion,
actually looks like they do what
right?
their profile
It-
describes them
yeah,
as doing.
in real life. Or if you've been asked to sit on a panel discussion, are you going to send that bright yellow background
Right.
thing with the bad lighting? Or are you going to send something that looks like, wow, this person knows what they're talking about from moment number one? And I think one of the most impactful, and there have been a number of like, situations of similar like good results from using my services, but the one that probably stands out more than anything in terms of ROI is I had a client that she was writing a book about networking, and she had seen me, we had gotten to know each other a little bit. She's like, I want you to shoot the cover. So it was a little bit more than a headshot. It was more like half body shot. But we had a very specific vision, and the book was called The Power of Networking. And I was like, well, if it's called that, you've got to look powerful. Like you can't look just like,
Right.
bright and, cheerful. Like you need to look
Yeah,
powerful.
don't show up in
Like,
like the Lily Pulitzer dress with the
right,
pastels and everything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It has its place, but
right,
that doesn't portray I'm a
exactly.
I'm a dominant female that will come in and kick butt and take names.
Exactly. So I was like, we got to shoot something that really shows you for who you are and the power that you bring to the table. And so we did, and she loved it, and I loved it, and it was great. And it's on the cover of her book now. And she came to me, it was earlier this year. She reached out and she said, people are coming up to me at speaking events, and she's gotten some where she's speaking to like 3,000 people. Like
Wow.
she's doing pretty good. But she said people have come up to her at the end of these events and said to her, I just wanted to let you know that we came because as soon as we saw the picture on the front of your book, we knew we had to come and hear what you had to say, even before we read the book.
It's crazy.
And this is the cover right here.
That's a great picture.
Power of
It's actually
network.
kind of an optical illusion too, because it almost looks like she's wearing a necktie. I know that that's how her blouse is, or her
Yeah.
whatever the kind of shirt is she's wearing, but that's good, man.
So that was kind of like, she's getting more visibility and more revenue from ticket sales because of this picture.
Yeah, and I think everybody needs to hear that. Everybody listening to this needs to hear that message because I can tell you that the insurance industry specifically is a place where if you're willing to put yourself out there, you will get opportunities, whether that be to go speak at conferences or participate in panels or whatever else. And I'm a big believer that you get one shot. Like and look, I know it's cliche, you get one shot to make a first impression, but at the end of the day, the number of people, and a lot of them are my friends, and even I'll lump myself into this category, don't have great speaker profiles and portfolios to send out to people, right? Now, I've got good text in it because it's easy for me to sit down and write text around what I do, what I talk about. Here are several options for canned presentations, but these are other things that I'm good at. But to actually have high quality images where action shots of me speaking on stage or doing whatever else, it's tough to get that. And it's really tough to get it if this is your first real opportunity to go down this road. And I know just because, again, I follow the stuff you're doing now. This is one of the things that you're doing in your studio is you're setting it up so that people who might be, and Ciara is actually probably a really good example of this.
Yeah.
She's done a great job of going and putting herself out there and getting some really good speaking opportunities. And I have provided her the absolute best pictures I possibly can from my iPhone from the front row when she's doing it. But she's at a point now where she's getting visibility not just from within the industry, but from outside the industry. And I'm telling you, man, when you look at the headshots and you look at the things that you have created and produced for her, she looks like she belongs in the room.
That's really the goal. So, I had this thing happen, and I think, this brings up the topic of as a business owner, always trying to find ways to solve problems for your clients. So impactful when you can do that. So I was starting to have all these keynote speaker clients that they were either doing that full time or it was like, a side gig. They were like an executive and also doing keynote speaking. And they kept telling me some variation of, I can't get good shots of myself while I'm speaking. They always turn out bad. I've got weird, my mouth looks weird. I look angry when I'm talking or something like that, or the lighting in the venue is bad, or it's the best friend in the front row with the iPhone. We love you guys, but it's just that's not going to be great marketing material typically.
Oh,
And
it's not.
so
It's terrible.
yeah, so I started to think about, well, how can I solve that problem? And can we do it from the comfort of my studio? And so I started to work on, well, how do we recreate stage lighting, but make it look even better and more flattering than it typically is? Can we use a projector to project somebody's slide deck on the wall and really, and then, do all these things and put a mic in their hand and I start coaching them and getting them talking. Like I had Ciara start to give me like the beginning of her keynote and I was like, pause, go back, say that again, but I just want you to say it with more energy, more emotion. So instead of just like somebody kind of documenting, I'm actually coaching them to make sure that they look energetic and engaged and excited to be there. And then we get these shots that I think they look like people are on stage, but they're in my
Oh, the
studio.
ones I've seen, like you would not be able to tell. Like I've seen the ones where it was kind of like an upshot from the side of her. I wouldn't know that she wasn't on a stage unless your post would have said like what the point of the shot was, that you were
Yeah.
building these profiles that way.
So that's kind of the thing is like, how can I help these speakers that maybe are just getting started or they're on their way already, but they need this great marketing collateral to help them look like that like Ciara 100% deserves to be on that stage. Now let's help her look like she
Correct.
deserves to be on that stage. And that's the whole point is like have marketing collateral that backs up who you actually are.
Well, and the thing is, if you present a dossier of your work with great photos of you on stage presenting, and honestly, I have to imagine part of that is also, and I don't, this would be interesting to see if you figured out a way to solve for this or not. But I would think that if you have a way to have it where you look like you're on stage, but also you have an audience in front of you that's actually engaged, leaning in with some kind, and then the next person that they're considering, for the engagement, send in a normal headshot in a basic bio as a PDF. Who are they going to pick?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
They're gonna pick the person that's got the professional marketing materials 10 out of 10 times in most cases, unless it's a cost play and the person with the Word doc is, half the price, and then it's probably not where this other person wants to be speaking anyhow. But, I think the thing for me that I find interesting is I think that humans by nature are we're all curious. We're nosy. We want to know. I mean, if you don't believe me, just look how many people are rubbernecking anytime there's an. On the highway,
Exactly.
but I think pictures evoke that level of curiosity that you're not going to get from a video image or a recording, because you're capturing that one moment with that perfect facial expression, whatever the story is you want it to tell, and you put your seal of approval on that, and you put it out there. People look at that, and in their mind, they're thinking, I wonder what she's thinking. I wonder what's running through his mind. I wonder what the next thing out of that person's mouth is going to be. And I don't think you can capture that with any other medium. I really don't.
It's like the power of only revealing a little bit and then like people want more.
Yep.
And it's that level of like intrigue of like people saying, I want to go hear this person speak because of this picture. That's powerful. That's like that's ROI right there.
But I can understand that, right? Because if it was just that picture was a thumbnail and they click it, and the next thing you know, it's, hey, I'm David, and all of a sudden I have Mickey Mouse's voice and everything else, it may disqualify them from
Yeah.
coming to the event. But I think that by leaving just that little bit to the imagination to evoke that curiosity, drives an interesting reaction from the average person.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the goal really with everything that I do, whether it's just a quote unquote simple headshot or whether it's a bigger branding and, portrait session where we're doing some of this keynote stuff. Like I want to see my clients win. That's really the goal. And I want to give them images that will help them win.
Well, and the reality is, man, it's images. People see it. If they like it, they want to know where they got it. So if your clients are winning, you're going to win way more too. You're just
Yeah.
doing it in a very unselfish way. I mean, you don't need to make it about you. You need to make it about your client. And if you do
Yep.
that 100%, you're automatically making it about you, but you're doing it in a way that people are going to want to engage.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I think that kind of goes back to thinking about LinkedIn strategy and kind of the counterintuitive nature of we get on there, we want more clients, so we think, well, we got to shine the spotlight on me and my services, what I offer, put it out there. But there's a real power in turning that spotlight and putting it on other people and using your platform as a way to highlight people in your network, your clients, whatever you can do to promote your clients, other people in your network, your strategic partners. That, it just there's something about it that people appreciate, that it's becomes valuable for them, those people, and goes back to, in business, when we want to see other people win, I think that that comes back
It
and
does.
helps us
It
win.
absolutely does. I mean, I can tell you firsthand from my own experience that's the case. I get the benefit of being able to help people do things that they otherwise might not be able to do because they don't have the same knowledge that I have. Not because I'm smarter than them, it's just my experience level is different and I've played a different game than a lot of the people in my community have played up until the point they decide they want to come in. Now, I could go and work with these people and help them close business and make a bunch of money and beat on my chest and brag about doing it. The reality is that's not why I do it. I actually get more satisfaction, and I'm dead serious when I say this. Anybody who knows me will say that this is 100% a fact. I get more satisfaction out of just helping somebody win, knowing that a trick or a tool or whatever I had that I could teach them and they could go out and make their own and use it, actually put money in their pocket than any kind of recognition I would be able to get for doing the same thing for myself. I've just always been that way. I don't have a problem letting other people be in the spotlight. I don't have a problem letting other people win. And I don't even need to get any kind of recognition for that. And, I that it's just a part of the fabric of who I am. I think that there are a lot of people out there who do a lot of great things as far as donating to charitable causes and volunteering their time and everything else, and they also do a very good job of plastering it all over social media, and you'll never see that from me. We probably do as much or more for the community and nonprofits than anybody out there, but I just simply choose to remain anonymous in what I do because my intent behind doing that is not for me to put it out there for the world to pat me on the back and tell me what great things I'm doing and then all of a sudden want to come do business with my agency because I'm doing so many good things in the community. If you're doing so many good things in the community is going to figure it out. You don't need to tell them. They're
Yep.
going to see you there. They're going
Yeah.
to see you there actually doing the work, not you doing it in a picture. And I think I think that that's one of the things too that people again they tend to get wrong because I think that there's a subset of the population that looks at some of this stuff and says, oh yeah, what a great dude, man, he's doing all of this stuff. And then there's another subset is like, I'm onto this guy, man. He's only doing that because it's cheap marketing for him. He donates $500 to go to a golf tournament and he's got 15 pictures now that are, it's just not it's not how I'm wired, man. So one of the things I did want to get into before we wrap up though is, you're obviously mobile because you're coming to Key West, but just in passing when you and I have talked before, because people who listen to the podcast are not necessarily, all going to be in our great state of Florida here. I know you've done some things before where you've traveled. How mobile are you? Because I've got a feeling there's like some insurance carriers or some wholesale people who are listening to this that probably have 30 to 50 people on staff that would just love for Daniel to come up for a couple of days and work his magic. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so I've worked with companies really all over the US. I've had companies fly me to California, Denver, DC, Nashville, kind of coast to coast, really. And it's there's definitely like a little bit of a, travel surcharge that comes along with that. But especially if it's a bigger group, like it's a much smaller percentage of the overall cost of that. And it's just kind of it's a conversation. It's what are you looking to do with your marketing like in 2025? How can I help you take it to the next level? And what kind of assets can we create for you that you can then use on your website, social media, email signatures, if you're speaking, things like that. And then just kind of it's a logistics and numbers game of how many people is it. So it's more of a once we get into like the corporate group stuff of like 5 people and up, it starts to become more of a custom price. It's not just like a flat this. So it's kind of if somebody's interested, definitely they can reach out and learn more about it. But yeah, I mean, I bring my entire headshot studio setup with me. The goal is that I want to have the exact same look whether I'm on location or here in my studio. So, it all gets packed up. It comes with me. We kind of make a studio in somebody's office and create those great assets for them.
I bet that drives you nuts, man, trying to figure out how to get everything dialed in when you're on location. Because when you have your own spot, you've got it kind of set exactly. I know you probably have to tweak things based on how light's coming in and who your subject is and all of that. But taking it and then starting over from scratch, setting up at somebody else's spot's got to be crazy.
I mean, the if I have a relatively dark room, I've got it dialed in. Like it's pretty um got it down to a science with my lighting. And I mean, we've made it work in a variety of lighting setups and, rooms that I've been put in and things like that. So we can create these awesome assets pretty much anywhere.
That's awesome, man. What have we missed? What else do we want to get out that we haven't talked about?
I mean, I think that, we go back to LinkedIn, think about a lot of people view LinkedIn. We talked about the billboard versus the networking event. In terms of their own profile page, a lot of people treat that like it's a resume. You should be treating it like a sales landing page.
Yeah.
Once somebody clicks on your profile, they're interested in you in some way, shape, or form. And so you should have it optimized. Your banner should not be either blank or just like your company logo. Like there's some intentionality there. I intentionally made my LinkedIn banner a collage of images of me working with clients and both the clients and me like laughing and having a great time together because so often that's intentional. So often the feeling is, oh, headshots, it's like pulling teeth. I hate it. It's going to be terrible. And so I wanted to show people that were actually happy while they were working with me. So that was intentional. And then like your header, like if you just say like commercial insurance salesman, it's boring and it doesn't really tell people how you're going to help them. So getting creative and getting uh like more specific about how you actually help people because every time you comment, I'm sure you've told people this and people know this, but still people have boring headlines. Every single time you comment, I think it's the first 40 characters of your headline shows up with your comments. So it's super impactful real estate for building a brand and having people. So mine says headshot photographer and first impression architect. And then everybody's like, well, what's that? I want to learn more about what that is. And so it's trying to be intentional with using that to connect with more people and hopefully make an impact with more people.
Here's the thing, man, and this is why I'm so bullish on LinkedIn specifically because there's so many people doing a bad job that if you're doing a good job, you're going to stand out that much
Yep,
more.
exactly.
And I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to." Why? This is the best time for you to be on there,
Yeah,
And I say that even in the insurance space, we're in the hardest market right now that we could possibly be in. Everybody's complaining about it. I don't mind if I'm competing with a bunch of other people. If I'm confident enough in my own value proposition, I want to compete against them as close to the time that they pitch to you as possible. Because if
yep,
I truly believe that I'm that good and that my advice is going to be that great and the solutions that we put in place are going to drive that much of an impact, what do I care?
yeah,
What do I care if I'm out there in a sea of people who are not are just doing everything they can to try and get that next piece of new business in the door. If you can just be methodical and patient about your process and consistent, you're always going to end up winning in the end. And I mean, I've said this since day one. It doesn't matter what platform you're on in social. If you are consistent in your message and you're posting, your audience will always find you. In some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form, they will always find you. Maybe not as fast as what you would like for them to find you, but they will always get there in the end. And the example that I use to prove this point is that you will very, very rarely see me post Florida Risk Partners forward information on my personal page.
Mhm.
Very, very rarely do I do that. The majority of what I share on my personal page is my newsletter, which is educational, or I'll go in and I'll share somebody else's posts or stuff, or I'll share something from the page of one of my brands to get it onto my personal page. But I do that very, very sparingly. But almost everything that I post on my LinkedIn page is insurance producer facing.
Mhm.
I get 3 to 5 direct messages every month from decision makers at companies that would be my ideal prospect at Florida Risk Partners. And the message goes something like this: David, we were wondering if you have the ability to help us with our business in Missouri. I've been following your content for a while now, and I love the way you approach the business and how you teach other people to approach the business. We're not getting that from our existing agent. We want to work with someone who thinks the way that you think. Can you help us, or do you have somebody in your network that does things the way that you do that you could refer us to?
Mhm.
First time I got one of those, I about fell out of my chair. And I'm like, this guy's a hack. And I go and he's the CFO of a company that's got 700 employees. And I'm like,
Yeah.
boom, that proved my point.
It's the
That
thought
guy is
leader effect.
exactly my audience, reading content that was never put out there for him.
Yep.
And he still found his way to me.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
why I'm just
Exactly.
consistent with it. Am I the best? No, not even close to it, man. There are a lot of people that have really slick ways that they go about doing all of this. I've just found over the years I may not get there the fastest. I always end up getting there, and I'm going to do it slowly and consistently because what you build intentionally and you have the right cadence does not, it will fall at the rate at which you build it. That's the way I
Yep.
look at it. People who go and you try and build your online presence, do everything really, really quickly, you blow up out of nowhere, you're non-existent out of nowhere too that quickly.
Yeah.
But if you take your time and you build it the right way, it's much tougher for your business to crumble when if something were to go south. And so that's the one thing that I would encourage everybody is when you're looking to build your brand online, be intentional about how you're doing it, but also make sure that you have your cadence right. And the best thing to do is just be yourself, be authentic, period. That's it. Like the best compliment that I ever get anywhere I go when people finally act like when I get to meet people in person, like you're you're the exact same person that you are online. Like
Yep.
this is nuts. Like I well, yeah, I'm not smart enough to be two people, number one, but I don't know how to be anything else. And I think that that comes with maturity and age as you get older, because when we were in school, we didn't like it if we knew people didn't like us. We wanted everybody to like us. We wanted to
Yeah.
be accepted. And when you get to be an adult and you become okay with the fact that you're not everybody's flavor, you just need
Mhm.
to be the best version of that flavor to the people who want it.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
There's probably more people who dislike me than like me. Good. I'm fine with that. You want to
Yeah.
be snarky in my comments? I welcome you to come in. You're only helping my algorithm. I mean, you probably think you're doing damage, but I'll happily let you boost my post for me. But I think that's the other part of it is, even with the headshot stuff, man, I've got to believe there's some like when people, there has to be a moment, and I would be interested. We'll close with this, but there has to be that moment when they've come in, they've done the shoot, they've waited for however long that waiting period is, right? For them to get the finished product and see what it looks like. And there has to be a moment when they just sit there and soak it in, and there's this like sigh of relief that it's like, wow, that is really,
Well,
really
so
good.
part of my process is that I shoot with my camera tethered to my laptop so they get to see them immediately.
Oh, wow.
And that they're not retouched yet, but with the lighting that I use, the goal is that it's basically looks like almost a finished product with the lighting and things like that, so that people are blown away immediately. And
That's
that's the goal,
fantastic.
is to make the session, you're not worried about how it's looking because you can see it right away.
And see, if I'm marketing for you, I'm getting a shot of that person stepping around and getting the reveal of their face when they see that image on the laptop the first time. That's got to be priceless.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I have this unofficial, Ciara's a member of it. I have this unofficial first click club where people that we nailed the shot, the first click of the camera, and just the, again, the reaction on their face from turning the laptop to say, look at what we just did. I did spent that minute of like coaching them. This is what we're gonna do. This is how I'm
Right.
gonna position you. It does, not gonna lie, it does feel a little bit awkward, but it looks really good on camera. So I want you to trust me, and then we'll see it right away. And watching them, like, I can't believe that's me. Like, and this the amount of confidence that builds, that's one of the craziest things that has happened in the course of my business, is seeing that when people see themselves looking confident on the screen, it actually does something to their inner confidence.
I guarantee you it does. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. And as you're saying this, I'm sitting here thinking to myself about a couple of people that I know are going to get headshots in Key West already. And in my mind, I'm making a mental note. I can't wait to see what their production numbers are for the second half of 2025, because they're going to be there in June going into July. What does that look like for them in fourth quarter? Because they will leave ready to run through a wall if they feel like that's how they look, man. And
A hundred
I know
percent.
enough about what your work product looks like to know that they're going to feel that way. So I'm super amped to see what this does to their self-confidence to push them out there even
Yep.
more.
And when you have a headshot that you're actually proud of, instead of one that's just like, oh, whatever, it's my headshot, you feel like, I'm proud of this. Guess what happens? You want to put it out there more. You want more people to see it. And you're going to be looking for those opportunities of, where can I send this into? How can I use it in this way? And that's why Ciara has come back more than once, because she's discovered all these different use cases for the speaking and the panel discussions and the LinkedIn and the social media posts and all these different ways to highlight who she is. And the way that she walks into my studio now is not the same way when she walked in the first time.
She's
Not that
walking in
she
snapping
wasn't,
her fingers, man.
yeah. Now she's like, she knows what the process is like. She knows the experience, and she knows how it's going to help her. And she's like, let's do this. I want to get back into your studio.
What an awesome transformation it has been to specifically watch her over the last 4 or 5 years. Because when I first met Ciara and started talking to her and working with her, she was extremely shy, timid, like that self-confidence did not exist at all. And I could see it. I knew it was there. And I told myself, this lady is something special. She is going to be able to go out and do really, really good things. She just has to believe she can do it first.
Yeah.
And I think that what I've seen from the stuff that you've put out for her, that you guys have worked on together, is literally like the stamp on the whole process. Like, okay, it's done now. Now go take everything you've learned in the last 4 or 5 years. Go come back and visit sometime. Let us
Yeah.
know how you're doing. But
Yeah.
you're done with us. Like, we've gotten you to where you need to be. Take what we've given you and go do the next level. And I think it's really cool to see that. And I think it's great that you and I are having this conversation, because you've captured what I visualized in my head 5 years ago that had
That's
not
awesome.
yet manifested itself.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that.
So anyhow, well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming to Key West, and I look forward to it. I'm really, really pumped to see what you do with these people, because I know what you're capable of. I want them to become aware of what they're capable of, and I think you're going to
Yeah.
help me do that. So thanks
Amazing.
for spending time with me today, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Take care.